to have him going to work tonight or not. Thank God it wasn't a kid. Jesus Christ.
Well, I was like, it fell down. I was like, oh, Tyler's gonna get it, and then you didn't move a fucking inch.
I went to grab my vape. You could just say, "Hey, fix that. Hey, grab that."
You didn't move an inch, so I was like, I'll get it. We ran up over the curb. Everybody, I'm glad we were recording.
Wasn't a child, we promise.
Yeah. All right. Hey, welcome back to another episode of CarCast.
CarCast.
Yeah.
Still don't like the name.
Yeah. Well, we haven't done anything better, so. This time, we just watched Heretic.
What do we call it? Audio adventures.
CarCast episode. We just got done watching Heretic, starring Hugh Grant, the star of Notting Hill.
And a bunch of other things.
And the star of hiring prostitutes and getting caught doing it. It ended up, there was quite a few people there, which we were surprised because I bought these tickets and no one had bought tickets. And it didn't seem like anyone else had any interest in seeing this movie but me and Tyler until we got there. And then all of a sudden, to be fair, was a bunch of old people. And old people just go see movies.
There was a young couple next to it.
There was a young couple.
Chick was hot.
But old people just go and see movies at 1:55 on Fridays because
my apologies. Dude might have been hot too. I just don't know.
He might have been. I had a bald guy sitting in front of me that the fucking screen was reflecting off his head the whole time. And I was like, please, for the love of God, stop. And then he put on a hoodie halfway through. And I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God.
Is that a little weird that you prayed to God and then it stopped?
Oh, shit.
Considering the context of the movie.
Yeah. But anyway, Heretic. Tyler, what do you think of it?
How about you to go first? Because I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is my kind of flick. Very cerebral. Very thought-provoking. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that my number is going to be much higher than yours. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, before the end of the movie, I was going to give it a perfect 10. And now it's like a 9. Because the end of the movie, we'll get into it, but I don't know, it kind of felt cheap a little bit. Like, it'll be easier to explain when we're talking about spoilers and shit. But, yeah, I loved it. I think it's the best movie we've seen all year. Hugh Grant was amazing in it. I could have watched, there's probably a 20-minute section of this movie where it's Hugh Grant and the two female leads who are just on opposite couches talking to each other. I could have watched a whole movie of just that. It didn't need to go into anything else. That would have been fine for me. Yeah, I was very upset when I had to take a piss about an hour and 20 minutes into the movie because I didn't want to miss anything. So, this movie rules. That's my thoughts on Heretic.
I can't believe it. I can't believe a cerebral movie. The man sitting next to me who hates Midsommar.
Midsommar's awful.
But you like this.
Well, yeah, because this one was good and not bad like Midsommar. I'm surprised that I think you're about to say that you liked it because I'm going to be honest, it seemed like you were pretty bored for a while and I was like, oh man, it doesn't seem like Tyler's liking this one.
It's my kind of movie. Nothing visual mattered. Mm-hmm. This was an audiobook. That being said, it was still shot great.
It was.
All the visual, everything was stunning.
Yeah.
It was a great movie. I'm going to give it a rare 10 out of 10. Hold on. Shit. I sent a text to this chick I'm talking to.
Okay.
Amazing movie, 10 out of 10. My kind of flick. Loved it. Those are my exact words.
Yeah.
Just so you know, there was no me fixing my score after.
Okay.
I want to fit in with Tom,
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Because I shy away from conflict.
Uh-huh.
I don't. But
you don't. Yeah,
still,
that's not how you've ever described yourself.
But this was I don't want to say intellectually thought-provoking, but a
little bit, but
I'm just gonna ask the question.
Uh-huh.
And we're not getting into spoilers or anything like that.
Yeah.
And this is what was going through my head while I was watching the movie, which kind of sucks because I think about way too much shit as I'm watching a movie.
Uh-huh.
Who other than Hugh Grant could you see in that role? Because he fucking nailed it.
Well, it's funny because if you would have asked me before I had seen the movie, I would have told you that Hugh Grant couldn't do that role. Because all I've known Hugh Grant for is rom-coms, and then he was the Oompa Loompa in the Willy Wonka movie that came out like a year or two ago. And this was completely out of left field for me. Like, I was part of the reason I wanted to go see this movie is because I was like, look at this, fucking Hugh Grant's playing a like a A24 religious villain dude.
He was just so good. He went from like charming to kind of threatening to kind of like calling you on bullshit to like, and it was just flawless. It reminds me of Jimmy Mack and that fucking tongue may be cut out movie.
James McAvoy?
Yeah, Jimmy Mack.
Speak No Evil?
Speak No Evil. That's
tongue's definitely cut out because I'm wearing the shoes that tongue paid for.
Those shoes have 2 more tongues than that kid. Right? But anyways, I would say it's a 10 out of 10 almost. I don't know what your beef was with the ending, and we'll get to that, but I think that's the best way it could. I mean, the fake out I think would have been better. But anyways.
Yeah.
I'm not, and okay, spoiler time now. I'm not a big spoiler.
Spoiler warning.
Go
for
it. Super spoiler warning, by the way. This is like a massive spoiler warning. I don't think the ending happened.
Oh yeah.
So remember when the lady, I'm just gonna call the brunette and the blonde. Because one's Sister Paxton, which is the last one who was alive.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
The other one was Brown or something. Started with a B.
But anyways, when the simulation won, and that you'll understand once you watch the movie. It's describing when you have a near-death experience or whatever, how there's a bright light, and then your mind fills in the voids with random shit that makes you make sense of things. So at the end of that movie, her mind is, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I'm not going to give away the ending. But whatever happens, and then, like, she, outside, right? And the bright light and all that, and then the butterfly thing, and then the butterfly disappears or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's just her near-life experience, and she's dead in that. I think everyone's dead in that basement. Everybody's fucking dead in that basement.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, just my theory.
All right.
So, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't fully processed the ending. But, it's a good flick.
Yeah.
The real problem with this movie, and I'm just going to say it now, it's going to be real hard to do this review because it's all dialogue. There's no, like, cool part, I remember that part where she talked, it's, I don't know.
Yeah. I remember, I'll start off with a complaint that I had. On the way here, we were talking about The Crow, the one that came out this year.
The hit flick, The Crow, from 2024.
And I was talking about how one of the things I hated about that movie is there's a part where the Crow loses his powers for a reason, and it's very obvious why he lost his powers, but then the movie treats you like you're dumb, and it has a whole scene like, oh, this is why you've lost your powers and stuff. And I remember being like, well, that's bullshit. Just trust your audience to realize that's what happened. Same thing happened in this movie where the lady gets down into the basement and the bike lock is on the door, and she's the one, it's her coat that has the key and stuff. And at first, in a seemingly random thing that you thought just happened later, it makes sense now. And it was like, oh, okay, so it's very clear, like, this whole thing has been set up for her to get here. He knew, by the end of this, he was going to control her to get here, and this is all part of his plan. And then we go in the room, and she's like, oh, you knew I was going to be here. You've controlled me this whole time. Like, spelled out the whole key thing. And I was sitting there, and I was like, yeah, I got it. I didn't need a 5-minute scene of you explaining it to me, like, this is why the key was in my pocket.
Well, I think it was to point out that the girl noticed he had wet hair and such and such.
Which I am very curious to watch again and see if he really did have the wet hair.
The lady kind of, I don't want to say she acts like an idiot, but she acts like a rube, like a dummy.
Yeah.
Like she's not in touch with the real world or whatever. she gets her pants pulled down early in the movie, and everyone's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But I think that point was to show how she may be not perceptive, or not be socially perceptive, but she was taking in everything that she saw.
Yeah.
Because I didn't notice the wet hair thing.
No.
I mean, everything else I kind of understood. I was like, oh, well, yeah, obviously dude did this.
Yeah, I didn't get the wet hair and all that shit. Which I will say, I guess it explains, unless I missed Topher Grace, saying a lot. There was never a line about the bikes, but I remember being like, oh, that's why Eric from That 70s Show will know that they're there.
There was
It's because of the bikes out front.
You might have been peeing. But it showed him walk away and there was no bikes.
Oh, okay.
So.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember if the bikes were on the gate or they were a little bit down the way.
Yeah.
So I don't remember if you would see him from the door, but it panned up and it just showed the dude walking towards the empty gate.
I did think it was interesting. There was a part where, the very beginning of the movie, they're just having a discussion about porn. This lady watched a porn movie, and they're Mormons, so the one lady's very inexperienced with so she's calling pornography movies, and they're doing sex, and
they're sexing.
Yeah, it seems a little over the top, the dialogue. I get what they're going for, but it's I feel I don't know. It seemed like a very exaggerated way of them speaking.
But I mean, have you experienced a lot of super sheltered?
No, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So I can't fully say that, but anyway, and in that conversation, it's very clear that the one lady is a firm believer in God. She trusts everything, and the other one, the lady has a line where she's like, "But it's true, right?" And the lady kind of is like, "Yeah, And it's okay, this is the more skeptic one, and this one is full in. But then when they get that choice of being all right, you can leave, here's your door, belief or disbelief, the one who was hardcore into oh yeah, everything's real, immediately just goes to the disbelief door for the easy out, and the one who's the more skeptic is no, I'm going to this to the belief door, and I just thought it was very interesting that happened, that those two.
So I have a very strong belief.
Okay.
I got a very strong, not strong belief. This movie's got me believing shit. I have a theory.
Yeah.
So, the movie, the whole theme of this movie is control, and about how religion controls you, blah blah blah. So the one lady is so used to blindly following and giving whomever what they want, right? So if her preacher or whatever you want to call it says, hey, we're believing that, red's evil. She drinks the fucking Kool-Aid. She goes, red's evil.
Yeah.
So the guy goes on his rant, and he was like, if you believe, then this is the door for you. But if you disbelieve, even though I just, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, prove everything was wrong for you, so she just wanted to cater. She's been, I don't want to say brainwashed because that's a sensitive subject, but she was like, okay, whatever you want, I'll do, and the other lady.
Well, she even said she's been raised in the church.
Yeah.
The other one, her mom converted to it after her dad died, and
so the fact she doesn't believe is strong is why she went against the authority figure. Well, the other one is so used to just falling in line.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a crazy scene, but it makes sense, but it's still really weird. I dig it though.
Yeah.
Like I said, the one lady believing was not to believe in the guy, but the girl not believing was to believe in the guy. It's wild.
There was another thing that was right after that in retrospect I liked a lot more too, is what was the thing that they stabbed the guy with, and
letter opener.
Was it a letter opener? Okay. Where the one lady, the one who doesn't, the skeptic, she gives her the letter opener, and her reasoning is the same reasoning that I had. It was the lady that's the skeptic has been very, not standoffish, but more challenging towards Hugh Grant. And so she's like, listen, he'll expect me to attack you. He won't expect you to attack him. So you need to, have the knife and stab the dude. And then things end up happening. And it almost turns into a thing where it's she was talking to the audience, where she goes, all right, everyone's going to expect me to be the hero of the day.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's going to be you, the one that no one expects. And after that happened, I was like, oh, shit. And I really like that line of dialogue in retrospect, looking back at how the movie had gone up to this point.
Yeah, there's a wild moment where the kind of silly one starts showing off her intelligence and her comprehension and everything else. And it really adds a lot to her character.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's a little far-fetched. It's a little, like a smidge unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I'm down for it.
I was glad when he started going into like the simulation hypothesis and shit. I was like, all right, is that really the route we're taking this movie? Is this guy believes we're in a fucking... We were talking about flat earthers earlier.
Yeah.
I was like, is this guy going to go full Matrix on us? But it ends up being that he's basically just making up shit to try to create something because something in his plan didn't go how it was supposed to. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's not just, there's a reason that he's trying to convince this lady about the simulation and shit. Yeah.
There's a very weird part, well, not weird, but they never tell you what he's trying to find the one true religion. And he finds it or whatever.
Never give him a backstory.
Yeah, you never find out kind of why.
I was expecting a wife died of...
and she was one of those folks who only believed, God was the only medicine or something. Like that, but I didn't... Like I said, we were kind of left wanting on that part. But I'm, again, 10 out of 10 movie. Like, I have all these questions, but I have no answers,
Yeah.
Like, who built the house and all that? And he was like, my wife did.
Yeah, and he had a whole thing where he was talking about you believe stuff just because people tell you. And he's like, do you really believe that my wife is in the next room still? Just because I told you, even though all the evidence points towards the contrary. And then, the lady's like, I really like that. She just kept complimenting him, as things got progressively worse, because that's clearly her fallback, is to try to sweet talk people.
Or just apologize.
Yeah, and she's like, this is a really beautiful home. Who built it? And he's like, my wife did. And I was like, oh, shit. I could have made that light, but... it took me a minute because he started playing this one song and he was like, have you ever heard this song before? And they were like, no. And he was like, that's bullshit. You have heard this song. And so clearly at that point he'd already talked about the original Monopoly, and someone had taken it and turned it into Monopoly, and the what do you call it? Not the evolution of things, but iterations. And so I was like, all right, he's going to say that this song is another song that became popular later. And he ended up saying it was Creep. And I was like, well, is it? And then I was listening, and the guy was like, and I was like, oh shit, this totally is Creep. And it was like, they had sued Creep and won, but then years later, Creep sued Lana Del Rey and won, even though they ripped off the other dude. That whole scene, it hovered around where I was like, all right, when's this gonna become too much? When he just kept busting out here's this book, Judaism started, and then Christianity, and then Islam, and then here's Monopoly, and here's music, and I kept being like, all right, when am I gonna get tired of this? And I never did. I was like, I could listen to this fucking guy rambling. He had weird statues, and there was weird portions of his house that looked like people.
Yeah, I didn't understand when the curtain was being raised and it was showing weird statues and different theologies and different religious symbols and stuff. But again, I was down for it. The movie was 2 hours and some odd minutes long.
I think it was just about 2 hours.
I was mad that it finished when it did.
Yeah.
I checked my phone just to see the time. And we were at an hour and a half, and I was like, no, I'm not ready for the ride to be over.
Yeah. So my thing with the ending. So first off, Tyler doesn't want to spoil it all.
Spoil now because we're 30 minutes in.
Okay, well, if you don't want to get the whole ending spoiled, you skip 2 minutes or something. But, so first off, I didn't once the lady stabs Hugh Grant in the neck, she goes back up, and then she just goes back down in the basement, and she's just standing there. And I was like, all right, I feel at this point, you should have evolved to being like looking for something else, you know. So anyway, he stabs her. They're there dying. Hugh Grant's like, pray for us, and she's like, praying doesn't work. I really liked it. He then he then crawls over to her and he's like crying on her shoulder and shit. Like he seemed like he was a man who was very afraid of death. But anyway,
that's just kind of his thing. Is that he's like, the only thing that keeps us in religion is fear of the unknown, or what happens after you die. But anyway, then the lady who presumably had been dead this whole time, who got her throat slit, there was a very crazy moment, because I was like, all right, where's this gonna go? Because it looks like Hugh Grant's about to get stabbed in the neck. So then does he die, and then there's something else they have to figure out, but then it ends up being, no, it's her. Even though there was a moment where they leave her and you see her arm like move, and I remember being like, oh, is she gonna come back? But no, she didn't. But then she just gets up and just stabs the dude in the face with the board with the nails and kills him, and then she falls over and dies. And it just seemed very stereotypical horror thing. See, I don't believe that happened.
I know that's what you said.
That's the part, because it shows Hugh Grant about to like slit her throat.
Yeah.
And there's like a very weird scene where he's like, I gotcha. And then next thing you know, it's like super action packed, blah, 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 blah. Again, I think that's where the cut is. Like, she sees Grant, and then I think that's, you know...
So he kills her, and then everything's in her mind after that.
Yeah, everything you see after that is... and the only reason I say that is because of the butterfly at the end.
Butterfly at the end.
Because that was her dream.
Yeah. And the fact that, I mean, we had all the scenes of the prophet who, you know... was seeing things, but then it turns out that the prophet wasn't real.
Yeah,
because it was fucking a ruse. The whole thing was a ruse.
Well, like my whole thing is like your mind, kind of like AI, right? If you put a picture, you say, "Hey, draw me a picture of a dog riding a bicycle." It's gonna fill in what it thinks, right?
Yeah.
And your mind does the same thing. So there was no way that lady knew to take apart that maze to find the little switch that does whatever, or any of that shit. Up to that point, they didn't know that there was like trick levers or nothing like that. Like, they had no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, she's like, I'm out, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I can see what you're saying. I mean, it would add to the whole, you know, the scenes that we had already experienced.
Yeah. That's the only thing I think about the butterfly, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool way to end it. And then they flipped it over. And
it disappeared.
And it vanished, and she's sitting there staring at her hand.
Yeah.
And there's nothing on it, and I'm like, fuck me, they switched it. What a twist, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, that doesn't tell you what happens, right? Hugh Grant, I'm sure, is dead, or died, and, you know, so on and so forth.
Yeah. It was not Satanism. I assumed that's where the movie was going, because he was like, I found out the only true God. And then I was like, oh, he's gonna turn out Satan. That's the only true God. But no, in this reality, there was no gods. It was just control.
I do have a weird complaint.
Yeah.
So the movie starts off, they're talking about Magnum condoms and sex and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Later
Which
on,
some lady in the front row found very funny.
Yeah. And I felt like it kind of started the movie with this sexual undertone. And with Hugh Grant being an old guy and these two, you know, young ladies, so on and so forth, I felt like it gave it a creepier vibe than it needed to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end, he definitely, like, he's pressed up behind her and he starts, you know, like, caressing her hair and shit.
I don't think this had anything to do with, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like a sex thing or nothing like that. They talk about how homegirl has a contraceptive in her arm.
Yeah.
And Mormons don't do that. So, like I said, everything was kind of weird. So, I don't know. Like I said.
Yeah.
That's my only, like, kind of little complaint. But, I mean, they're filling in lines of dialogue to show how innocent these girls were. Sorry, ladies, females, whatever, you know. And I get it, but at the same time,
I think you were fine just calling them girls.
Well, I don't know how old they are. Right?
I think you can just call them girls, though. You don't have to. I mean, they're young. They're youngish. Yeah. Which was that? Was that what he was talking about when he was like, "You have a secret" or whatever? And he was like, "A big secret I'm gonna expose." You remember that part? He comes back after talking to Topher
Yeah.
Grace, and I thought I missed something when I was pissing. Like Topher Grace said something.
He was talking about how the flame flicks towards her, and you can tell, something. But like, I think that was just all that was after the prophet. So,
Had already fucked it up,
Yeah.
So he was just trying to.
Yeah, he was trying to add another level onto it.
Yeah. Our theater did not have the blueberry scent. We were very disappointed. Supposedly, some theaters get blueberry pumped into the theater to represent the smell. We did not get it. Very sad. But
yeah, like I said, this film was top notch.
Oh yeah, it was great. I highly recommend it. I have a feeling it's not going to do good at the box office, and it's going to be a travesty. But I would like this movie to do good. I would like it to make more money than Terrifier 3 did, because Terrifier 3 was a piece of shit. And I hate that's...
I disagree. I think this movie's going to fucking kill it. Like,
I don't think
name a good movie that's come out lately.
Speak No Evil, the remake.
It wasn't bad, but this was better. Like,
you gave it a 10.
That's what I'm saying.
No, Speak No Evil.
That's what I'm saying. This is Speak No Evil I liked because I'm a weirdo.
Uh-huh.
This movie I think will appeal to like a lot of people. And it's not...
I don't think so.
I feel like this is a superhero killer.
I think once you get... I think once you start getting into questioning people's religions and stuff, I think a lot of people get really defensive and squeamish about that. Like, I was surprised that no one walked out.
The new Mustang in front of us, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Horrible.
I almost thought when
Heretic.
when the bald dude was getting up, I was like, oh, here he goes. He's getting that. Like, we had those people walk out in long legs where they were talking about praise Satan, and I remember being like, oh, there they go. They're leaving because of Satan. Might have just left because the movie sucked. I will say though, they played the trailer for the new movie that guy's making, the Monkey. That's a Stephen King story, and that movie looks sick. There's a lot of wild shit going on in that.
I think if you go to a movie called Heretic and don't expect some sort of questioning religion,
yeah. That might be on you. We knew, we've seen the trailer and Heretic, but you get these old fuckers that are in there that they just don't like. They're just showing up to whatever. Like, they got nothing better to do. They see Hugh Grant, they're like, oh, I loved Wonka. And they go see it. But yeah, I watched an episode of Top Gear the other day that they were in. They were where as Jeremy Clarkson always called it, the baby Jesus was born. And they get there and they're like, can we see the child? And they reveal it, and it's a little baby dressed up as the Stig. And they're like, oh. So I was kind of hoping that would happen in this movie.
When you just stop bringing Top Gear into every aspect of your life.
Sorry, man.
Now it's invading the podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. I think that's about it.
Yeah, like I said,
short and sweet one.
A lot of this is just dialogue and debate and
really, really good dialogue.
Defending your
really
beliefs,
interesting to listen
so on
to.
and so forth. A lot of y'all don't know this, and you see it some on here. I am a huge fan of, let's call it debating.
Uh-huh.
Some would call it just arguing, because I love to argue.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hugh Grant was like, it was so good.
Yeah.
I could argue like that all day.
Yeah.
I do sometimes.
Yeah. Hugh Grant was really good. I really liked the
both of them.
What?
The
girls?
ladies, yeah.
Though I like the mousy one better, or the one that was not the skeptic one. I guess I could say the one that lived, but she was my favorite of the two.
I think it was like one was the whole first act, and the other one was the whole third act.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said, and then Hugh Grant obviously stole the show in the second act or whatever.
Yeah. Hugh Grant, he is great in this. So it's probably my favorite Hugh Grant movie. That being said, it's probably like the only third movie I've seen him in. But hey, it's number one.
He was
now.
He was looking pretty old.
He's been around a while,
which makes me sad because he can make some more shit and be like.
He might. This might be his. What sets him off. People start coming to him for more shit.
He was very unassuming, right? Like, he doesn't seem like a villain.
Even like when it was clear that he was the villain,
Yeah.
he still kind of seemed like just like a just like a wacky old dude.
Yep.
So, yeah. And we're both in agreement that if they went through the disbelief door, they still would have ended up in the same thing.
Yeah, they both led to the same
Yeah,
spot.
they both led to the same spot, but I was like, because then if they disbelief, would the whole prophet thing be like, I'm going to prove to you that there is something or whatever,
Only thing I can think of is if they went down the disbelief door, because that's where his, like, office was.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that door would be open.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I doubt it.
Maybe.
It was all controlled.
There was
right?
that one random spider, too, that they added a spider jump scare randomly.
It was a creepy looking. It was like white. It was the whole thing.
It was, yeah, but that spider never came back. So, the butterfly was at the beginning of the movie, too.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there. I don't know if it's connected. It was a butterfly trapped inside of the fucking house.
So I don't know if it was supposed to be like, I got out, you got out type deal. I don't know.
Maybe.
Like I said.
Yeah. Anyway.
There's some symbolism there that's lacking on it.
Yeah. But anyway, great movie. Highly recommend. Go watch it. Letterboxed. You can follow us there.
Did you letterbox it already?
No. But Letterboxd. What was the last thing I letterboxed? Oh, Young Guns and Young Guns 2.
Oh my god.
For reviews them for those. But yeah, link to the gaming channel and shit. We're playing Diablo right now. Kinda.
One of us is playing it, another person's just reading.
I'm playing it, man. I tried to get you to play it 3 days in a row. You were like, no, I want to play Rocket League or whatever.
Should have wanted to die. I don't know if that's the same as Rocket League.
That's the same thing. You play Rocket League, you want to die. But yeah, so I'm sure there'll be a Diablo video at some point. Playing Red Dead Redemption that just came out on PC. There'll be a video on that too. But besides that, thanks for watching. I don't know when a real podcast will be coming out. We were going to watch a movie called Pulse. I watched it. Tyler took a nap that was 7 hours long. And by the time he woke up, I told him that movie was one of the biggest pieces of shit I ever watched. And so I was like, don't even waste your time on it. Don't even watch it.
And then we played poker for like 9 hours.
We did play poker and watch Thursday Night Football. That was how we spent our night. So, anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.